Hi, I'm Spike Robinson, and I'm here with my co-host Monia, and today we're discussing the Gilmore Girls. And
Yes, Gilmore Girls.
Monia turned me on to this show, and I've got to say, thank you so much. I love this show. I want to take it and marry it. I love this show so much. Now, you were mentioning before we typed or started recording, you want to talk about why it was created to be so gall-darn wholesome?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I do think the creators have a hand in that because their current shows are also kind of in the same dialogue style and stuff. But it was because advertisers, Procter & Gamble in particular, were feeling like there's not enough family wholesome programming on TV that we can advertise in. So they're like, why don't we commission a show? And it went on the WB, which is, was at the time, sorry, it doesn't exist anymore. But at the time it was like a very teen/family oriented channel. And it was a huge success. They filmed the pilot in Canada, in some like little town off of Ontario. And it was a little town that, well, not the one they filmed, but Amy Sherman Palladino, who created the show, said that her and her husband were like in some random little town and they were like, what is this? And then we're like, we have to make something that includes like a Stars Hollow type town, because they were like, this is amazing. Yeah. So that's how it got started.
I can understand because the town is absolutely adorable. I know several small towns just like it here in Vermont. However, I will say the first couple of seasons, Wally and I, my dear husband Wally, we're watching the show and we're looking at their scenes that are ostensibly anywhere between October and March, and they've still got deciduous trees green. Now, I don't know how it is down in the New Haven, Connecticut area, but I can tell you not a couple 100 miles north, you do not get deciduous trees green. From November to March, they're bare bones and it's white and brown. So that was a little bit much, but otherwise, man, is it spot on. It could be Pulteney, it could be Fairfax, it could be insert name of tiny little town here. It could even be my own beloved Shelburne. I usually say I live just south of Burlington. Well, Shelburne is 2 towns down from Burlington and is like itself a tiny little town that we've got a country store. So it's what I love about it best is that instead of the little insults that you find in shows like Arrested Development or other shows that I still love, where the comedy comes out of put downs. And people have forgotten, I think, in our society that put downs are not funny if they're done in real life at real people. I think I've ranted on about that before, haven't I? You got your patient face on, so I know I have.
I mean, of course. And I'm just also thinking like that's really gotten worse as we've all sort of like
oh yeah, because there are
away from everyone are like just like hanging online.
And I just want to say, if you wouldn't say it to somebody live, why are you saying it to somebody on Twitter? Come on, humanity. We can be better than this. But in Stars Hollow, everybody is super caffeinated and talks really fast, 97 miles an hour. But the comedy comes not from put downs, but from these very absurd little things like, oh, our hot dogs are talking to each other and the mustard wants in. And it's just so cute. And I can't tell you the amount of times that my husband has looked at me and said, she's you, isn't she?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, because it starts, I mean, just like with the pilot, maybe we should say, I mean, obviously there's girls and their name is Gilmore. Mm-hmm. It's a mother and daughter, Lorelai Gilmore and Lorelai Gilmore.
Rory.
As the joke is, she goes by Rory, but her name is the same as her mother. So one of the funny things is in the beginning, right, where she goes to the cafe and there's this guy trying to hit on her, which, we rarely see passersby in this town, but they're there this once. And, and she's like, no, I'm meeting my daughter. And they're like, bye. And then they try to hit on Rory. And then it's just like, oh, isn't this funny? Like, clearly these guys are just like, hey, what's up? And they're just like, no, go away.
Because Lorelai had Rory at 16, and we tune in just as Rory hits the age that her mother was when she had her.
Yeah.
So that's a very interesting little juxtaposition. And the relationship, I've got to say, the relationship between these two women is surreally wholesome.
Mm-hmm.
They're best friends. They're always listening to each other. They're always supportive. When they get into an argument, it's over and made up, and very understandingly made up before the end of this episode. I've seen maybe one or two times that they've had an argument that lasted more than one episode.
Yeah, there's some more coming.
Yeah. Full disclosure, I have not watched the entire show yet. I just got to season 5, I think, or end of season 4. There are 7
season 5. I think you're in
mid-season 5.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
From what you're saying with the wedding, or the renewal,
yes.
Yeah, mid-season 5.
Okay, mid-season. I'm at mid-season 5. There are 7 seasons to this, so there are some things that Monia has seen that I haven't. I tried to binge watch all the episodes, but my poor husband did have to put his foot down.
That's why I get through so much. It's just me being like, let's keep going.
He wanted to watch this strange thing called the Super Bowl, I think. It was a bunch of guys
that's right.
Ants pushing a ball down the field. I don't know.
That was happening, yeah.
Yes, that was happening. So,
but yeah, so you're just missing like 2.5 seasons. It's there's definitely a lot of stuff that happens. But
you will fill us in. So, spoiler alert ahead, but I have never been one who minds spoilers, because here's my grim little take on it, is that there is only one ending for all of us, and it's all the same. So it's the journey, not the ending. So I don't.
I mean, I was definitely someone who hated spoilers as I was growing up, but the thing is, I kept being exposed to them unwittingly and unwantedly, repeatedly, over and over and over. And after a while, I was like, well, this doesn't matter. Like, obviously, I'm always going to find out. What's important is how it's executed. And it's, as they say, there's only a certain amount of plots, supposedly in the world. And it is all about how is it being told? What are you seeing? What's the dialogue like?
And also what the tropes are. And I'll riff on a couple of the tropes. Let's see, who shall we start with? Because we'd have a list of characters that I wanted to riff on as far as how culty they are. Now, I want to say that unpleasant behavior is not necessarily culty, but it still can contribute because, okay, let's start with the Emily and Richard, and who are Lorelai's parents, and the way that Lorelai is forced to lie to her mother because she can't be honest with her mother, because her mother turns anything into it's all about her and it's immediate angry reaction. So that at one point, Lorelai ends up borrowing a lot of money to take her kid to school. And the deal is, you will come to supper every Friday. And she finally gets enough money to pay back. And she thinks she's doing a wonderful thing. Here it is, Mom. I told you I'd pay you back. And Emily turns it immediately into, oh, you just want to get out of your obligation now, and turns it into this horrible trauma. How dare you do this to me? Well, of course, this is the way that you make a daughter not tell her mother anything, is by anytime you tell them something, it's an automatic reason to attack.
The money stuff is also like, that's come up like 3 times. So, I mean, the first episode is when they set up this deal, obviously. And then there is the potential of money coming through the grandmother, the great grandmother.
Yes, the original Lorelai.
Who's talking about leaving a trust or something. And because Emily and Lorelai start fighting about it, because Emily is like imposing all of these paranoias, being like, well, now that Rory has money, she's going to run away from you. She's never going to need you again. She's never going to talk to you again. She's never going to see you. She's going to be prancing around Europe doing all of her. And it's like, and Lorelai is like, so
yeah, she confounds money with family obligation and family and familial bonds with obligation rather than love, rather than actually, Lorelai actually shows a couple of times that she really actually loves and cares for her mother and misses her when not seeing her. But her mother always thinks, you're coming to see me because you have to see me because you owe me money. That's the only way.
Like, yeah. And it continues later on as well with so I guess technically she does pay off the loan, and then there's a separate loan that gets instated with Rory where she needs them to pay for Yale because Lorelai needs to open an inn and whatever. But also like it's really expensive. Like what? Like if you have rich grandparents, why not? And they're so eager for you to go to this school. Like, yeah, sure, pay for it. I do like, I think that's part of the thing that Lorelai is very angry that Rory is putting herself in this situation. And it keeps insisting like there's strings, like you don't realize, but they are expecting things from you now. Like you think this is just a favor.
No, this is manipulation. This is one of the things that I learned from ex-Johos, they have a term called FOG, fear, obligation, guilt. These
that's
big emotional drives that you can find in a cultic organization. And I would say that Richard and Emily are fear, obligation, and guilt.
Yeah.
They're all about the fog.
Oh yeah.
And I will also say that I kept on calling. Oh, and by the way, Lorelai Senior, if you did not notice, the great grandmother is played in Happy Days, the mother in Happy Days.
Oh, really?
Yeah. My husband, Wally, has this freakish, I think I've mentioned it before, has a freakish ability to spot anyone, even if it's decades later. He has extremely good facial recognition. So he looked and said, that's the mother from Happy Days. And sure enough, it was. Also, Rory, the actress who plays Rory, later on goes to play the lesbian doctor in Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah.
And I did not.
She's always Gilmore Girls Rory to me. Like it's. She was also in Mad Men briefly.
Different. She was. I'm sorry.
She was also in Mad Men briefly.
Oh, it's just that she's still a kid in this one.
Oh yeah, but her face, she looks that. She has that.
She is
Bambi.
She's got that very, very. If she'd lived in the 16th century, Da Vinci would have had to paint her with a pearl earring. I know that's not who painted Girl with a Pearl Earring. I'm sorry.
And they do play on that in a season 6 episode. Oh yes, so we have something to look forward to. Yeah.
What the art, the living art thing has already happened.
Oh, has it? Okay. Yes. Yeah. Then that's the thing. Yeah. Why do I always think that episode is way later? Yeah,
I don't know. Okay, so we've got the parental units of Emily and Richard being so about fear, obligation, and guilt, and money, and using money for power.
Yes.
And that is so much the world that they're trying to push Rory into, where it doesn't matter whether or not a man is kind, good, supportive, helpful. It only matters that he comes from good family.
Sorry, no. It's not good family. It's good breeding.
Oh, good breeding. Yes.
Please.
Because
family. That's too nice and colloquial.
We all know what doing breeding dogs has done to the canine species. You know, you've got poor little dogs that if they sneeze, their eyes pop out. Come on.
Well, they did make a joke about that with the grandmother, their great grandmother, right? When she
Oh,
said like, oh, what was her maiden name? It's like Gilmore. It's like, what?
Oh, yes,
she married a Gilmore, and they're like, yeah, well, they were cousins or something. And it's like,
and then the cousin who and then you'll notice that the cousin who comes in at the funeral is the same actress.
Yeah, they do that a few times. There's a few others that repeat in different roles.
And it's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
It's very, very clever. Their casting is very clever.
So good. Yeah.
So good. Now, I want to move on to, I guess this is Logan and Jess, I'm going to call them.
Okay. Yeah.
Logan,
yeah,
Jess, because
fine.
they're the same kind of thing, only one's rich and the other's poor.
Isn't that yeah, it is very interesting how they managed to
one
show
is unacceptable to the grandparents and the other is very acceptable to
so welcome.
And yet they're the same icky set of behaviors. Now this is Spike's tropes that need to die now. And that is the boy who says stuff just to get you off your balance. The boy who says stuff just to upset other people. The boy who says stuff just to get people under their skin. Now, there's a difference between, oh, we mustn't say anything that offends anybody, because you've got to speak your truth regardless of what people think and whether or not they get upset. But it's a whole different other proposition to figure out what bothers somebody and deliberately poke that button because you want to see them you want to get a rise out of them. That is evil, and that is a bully, and that is Logan, and that is Jess to everybody but Rory.
And also, as I was thinking, Tristan also fits this mold.
Tristan does too. Tristan is a boy in Chilton and Rory's school that he calls her Mary at first and won't call her by her first name.
Yeah, it's a Bible reference because she's like the goody Mary.
She's the goody two shoes, but yeah. It's basically, let's see what we can do to get everybody upset. With Jess, it's let me see what I can do to get Dean upset and everybody else upset.
Yeah, Jess is very, if you look at the parallels between him and Logan, it is interesting how, I mean, it's a good comparison because yes, Jess is like, keeps thinking that he wants to get away from things. Like it's easy to just hear us say like, oh, well, he's a bad guy without examples, but like, he gets sent away from his family because he's out of control or whatever that means. And then he just starts disrupting things in the town. He draws chalk bodies and what did he stole gnomes, destroy snowmen for like a competition.
Yeah, and he steals gnomes, and he actually causes harm for the sake of causing unease. And to me, that is
because it's funny.
Yeah, it's not. Him, yeah, but right? Who is it?
No, according to him. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, please explain to me how traumatizing somebody is funny. It isn't to me. I was not amused. I was also not amused by the fact that Rory immediately loved him because he reads and he thinks. Now, he marked off so many of the predator list, especially the takes risks and wants to push others into having risks. Yeah. Where take the wheel, Rory. They're driving in the car that Dean built for Rory, and he has her grab the wheel, and he also pushes her into things. Now, I will say, young ladies, a man who does not respect your no will not respect you. A man who does not respect your saying, no, I do not want to do this, will not respect you. And no is a complete sentence. I can't emphasize that enough. I wish I could get that to every girl and boy on the planet. Mm-hmm. No is a complete sentence. You do not need to be pushed into things.
It's that guilt and obligation that just like niggles from internally, right? Mm-hmm. And it's just like, But why? Oh God, maybe.
Oh yeah, are you afraid? Come on, why not?
Don't you trust me? I thought you loved me.
Trust me? Don't you do this? Yeah, pulling this guilt and strings. No is a complete sentence, and a man or a boy or a girl or a woman who does not respect your refusal will not respect you. Yeah. And that's the thing that I really hate about Jess and Logan as they're written here, is that they're written redeemable, and that really Jess really cares about her, and it really does, because the writers made it so. And it's like, no, if you're going to write a character like that, make sure it's clear at the end. And I'm not saying we should reinstate the Hays Code. I'm not saying that.
I mean, this also has to do probably with contracts and communication. I don't think that's the right word. Networking and stuff like that, because it could have worked really well if he left, because he's dating Rory and then he messes up. He doesn't get to graduate, even though he thought he had it under control, despite not attending any classes. So he just leaves town. Like, he just gets on a bus and leaves, and he sees her outside, and like they're together at this point. But he's like not going to say anything. He's just on a bus getting out of there, just going to California. And if that had happened and he moved to California and actually lived there, you would have had kind of a realistic ending to that, right? But because his show that was supposed to take place in California never got picked up, then why not bring him back to the hood for a bit, like some few appearances. Yeah.
Oh, so this was a failed pilot, because that entire episode I was wondering.
Yeah, it was a backdoor pilot.
These people, they're amusing, but I don't want this boy's face on my screen.
It's a backdoor pilot. Yeah,
I was flipping off the screen every time he got on. I was getting that. You're
like, you left. Why are you still here? You're not in Stars Hollow. There is no Gilmore Girl where you are.
Well, it was just that I hate this trope so dearly of the bad boy that's really good underneath, and you can fix him, girls. Really, you can fix him.
What's interesting is she doesn't fix him, right? He gets, which I guess is also kind of realistic in a way, that he grows up when he's not actually, like, it's not her that's like making him want to be better, although he might say that later, but like he got himself under control outside of that influence.
And maybe he could, but usually what will happen with somebody who is a predator, who is somebody who they're just going to go from person to person and keep on effing up every situation they're in and wear out those people. And then as soon as those people are sick of him and have discovered what he really is, they'll move on to the next one and on to the next one. And on to the next one. Yeah, it is. Maybe because he's young, we can't say that he really is that, but he's acting a lot like that, and dang it, he checks off all the boxes.
Yeah, but it's also interesting. So like one of the things that I notice is the difference between when he comes to dinner at the grandparents and when Logan later comes to dinner with the grandparents. And the grandmother is very kind in the moment to Jess, but you know that it's all just like that facade of politeness.
A facade, and then saying words, saying things as compliments, but really they're digs. We just saw the first dinner with Luke, who is Lorelai's meant to be person. And they've
been making digs about Luke since the beginning, really, because
would you like a beer? And he goes, yes, that'd be great, not realizing that when she says beer, she means idiot juice.
Yes. Yeah. And it's funny how Lorelai, it is so, they make it so that Lorelai is technically always right, because she'll be like, oh no, this is an insult, and he's like, no, everything is fine. And then at the end he's like, no, I think I get it now. It's like no. Yeah.
Oh, and there's another trope, by the way, that I said that I really would like to see die is this is the person who's meant for you.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Sorry. Yes, downstairs I have a man who I have spent the last 22 years of my life living with, and we're very happy together and all of that. But I still do not believe in meant to be together.
No, there's work involved, which I think is kind of.
Yeah, there's respect, but there is also, you can't change. As we were saying before we started taping, the idea that you've got this, and he's a bad boy, but I can fix him. No, sorry. If you don't like how he acts, nothing you can do, no power in the verse is going to make him change to, you're a person, not a project. Okay? I'm spouting all sorts of
like
good advice today.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I'm trying to think of like what else Logan does that can sort of, oh yes, of course, the Life and Death Brigade.
Oh, the Death Brigade. Yes, let's talk. The Death Brigade is this ultra secret
The
club.
Life and Death Brigade.
The Life and Death Brigade. And it's even more secret than Skull and Bones, because we've all heard of Skull and Bones, but this is the Life and Death Brigade. Omnia
apparatus.
Omnia apparatus, ready for anything.
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry, I'm not up on my Latin.
Oh no, I know. I'm always like, wait, what is this? The thing image? What? Yeah. So Rory just like finds runs across one of the stragglers from the group and is like, I'm going to investigate.
And then finds out it's Logan. And here's the thing is, he says, okay, you can have your story, but you've got to agree to conditions. And you have to agree to the conditions
without knowing
them. No. Now, eventually the conditions do not turn out to be all that bad. It's that you can't interfere with our group. You can't ruin the integrity of it. And a few things like no faces, no names, no absolute descriptors in your article. They're all acceptable. But what if one of the conditions would have been, you have to have sex with me now?
I mean, they did make her jump from a tower.
That's the other, like,
or whatever that's called,
and pushes others into doing so. Now, yes, that was a very lovely little, was it bungee jumps? The Life or Death Brigade, they go out and they're having this camping event in the woods with servants and crystal and china.
Well, yeah, it is a black tie event or whatever. I don't know.
Camping in the woods.
Yeah. So she has like a nice gown and they're all, dressed up, and they can't use the word E.
I'm sorry?
The word E.
Yeah, you can't say the word, you can't say the letter E. So they were having full conversations without the letter E. But at this camping event, they have them jumping, and is it bungee jumping or line jumping?
It's some sort of thing that I would not participate in. I did not care about the details. I was just like, I'm not doing that. Like, that sounds insane to me. And she's like, oh, is it safe?
Something of it. Why don't you want to? Why won't you do this?
You're disturbing the integrity of the event if you don't jump.
Yeah. And also, not everybody was jumping.
No, it was just him and her, and then I guess some other people, probably
Four
his
other
pals.
People. Yeah. But the thing is, there's not a single person over the age of 30 there.
Because they all died.
I'm not saying that you have to be over 30 in order to work these lines, but it's been proven now that our brain is still developing well into our mid-20s.
Oh, so your excuse, okay, yeah, I guess that makes sense. Yeah, they're just like soft-brained for now.
Well, the thing is that they're not aware of the consequences. They're not or fully aware of their own mortality yet. And yet that it is very easy that one of those lines could have snapped and a kid could have been killed. And as Lorelai points out to Rory later, and Rory gets angry at her for it, that somebody could get killed and it would still be covered up because daddy is rich.
Yeah.
They can do anything they want. This is a class that can do anything they want, up to and including rape and murder, and daddy will pay bail.
It's interesting because then they have a bit of a contrast in that with Rory, and I do have some spoilers ahead. But yeah, for the Life and Death Brigade, it does kind of sort of, even past his graduation, he and his friends sort of have these adventures planned. And at one point they're like, we're going to fly to Costa Rica and then we'll jump from the plane and all these things. And Rory's very like, this doesn't sound safe at all. Like, what are you guys doing? And they're like, oh, stop ruining the fun. Like, we're just trying to have fun. But also there is an escapism in Logan's desire to get away because he hates his family. He hates what he is being pushed to do. So I don't know if it's that he doesn't know that he's going to die, but he kind of is like, well, then I will avoid having to spend 40 years working for dad. Like, who cares? He has a bit of that.
Well, there's also, and it's not,
and he does get injured.
Yeah.
He ends up in the hospital and it's like a whole thing, but yeah.
But also predators, the people who are of your narcissistic type, and I'm not going to go into psychological things because I am not qualified, but I know through my research with John that there is a class of folks that are missing certain alleles in their chemistry, in their brain, and need that stimulation, need that extra adrenaline, and will push others into it too.
You know what? This sounds basically, this is like the description of Harvey in Suits, because he has a whole thing where he's like, life is like this. I like this.
Yeah.
He's like, and I want it to be like that all the time.
That is more like Rajneesh, you know, the guy with the orange clad followers. He actually, when he was a youngster, goaded a boy into getting up and walking on a tightrope, which I'm sure was, what are you, chicken? Come on, are you afraid? Why don't you just do it? You know, that boy fell to his death and died.
Yeah, but he was brave enough to do it.
Oh yeah, yeah. So and also I'm thinking of Logan's first conversation with Rory, where she's trying to take him to task for treating another poorer student as a servant. And instead of even inwardly reflecting, is that something that I really want to be doing? He just immediately defends and parries and enjoys the argument.
Well, yeah, it is definitely like, I think you could definitely make the argument that it's his playground. He sees it all as his playground, which you then see when he, he and his friends break into her class and embarrass her in front of everyone.
Embarrass her just in order to make a scene. They're not concerned with the fact that this professor only has 6 weeks of lectures, and that in doing that, he basically wrecked 1/6 of the class for
everyone. Yeah, for everyone, not just for
Rory. So that there's no sense of anything but I'm having fun now.
Yeah.
And
the way they behave at other people's houses as well, taking the whole like, oh, we have this thing where we take something and then we put something that we got from somewhere else. Like it's just a stage, like it's all just for his amusement, kind of.
Exactly. And also the whole idea that what really got me was, you'll call me master and commander.
Yeah, that was, I like never even understood that joke. I was just like, okay, he's like the movie, but also how does the movie fit in? And just
and he's not going, hey, this gal, I hurt that person's feelings, and his friend, this woman in front of me, is trying to take me to task for it. I'm not even going to hear what she's saying. I notice that she's upset, so I'm going, well, you're riled up, aren't you? Ha ha ha.
Yeah. Isn't it funny? Yeah.
Isn't it funny that I've got you riled up, that I've got you out of balance? Somebody who I can't say it enough, somebody who takes pleasure in pushing people off of balance, somebody who takes pleasure in other people's discomfort, in other people's pain, is not anybody that you should get involved with. He should be painted red, black, and yellow and stripes is what he should be. It might not kill you. It might just be a milk snake, but it could be one of the snakes that actually kills you. So we've got Taylor and Logan, but you wanted to talk about Chilton. Please talk about.
Oh yeah. I could talk more about Logan's family as well. I don't know how much you've even seen of them, but they're very.
Not much. So go ahead and talk about that.
Okay. So it definitely sort of you just assume, right? Like his dad is a newspaper magnate. He's supposed to be like a what I'm trying to think of what the real people's names are that are newspaper magnates. Doesn't matter. They're out there. People know about them. People are probably screaming. They have the names and I don't, but whatever. So it's like, oh, you think that they're just going to be like they're just going to be like the Gilmores, you know, like poof, like, you know, super snotty and stuff like that. So she gets to go to dinner with him, and they're all very upset. And they think at first that it's because his sister has just announced her engagement, and they think like, oh, they're upset because they're like, they don't want her to get married to this bozo. But the reality is that they are upset that Logan brought her because she's just a Gilmore. She's not good enough for them. Like, what on earth are you thinking, Logan? Why would you bring this skirt here? Like, this is insane. Yeah, and she's just like, I'm a Gilmore. What's happening? And she's never experienced this. She's just like, this is so confusing. And obviously, and his dad offers her an internship, sort of to make up for like the faux pas, because they know she wants to be a journalist. So she's an intern and works for him. And at the end, he basically tells her, like, you don't have it. You can't be a journalist. You don't have the skills to be a journalist. You should probably think of something else. Like, go do something else. This isn't your field, which completely devastates her and completely, you know, leads to further things where she drops out of Yale. Like, it's a whole thing.
I knew she dropped out of Yale, but I didn't know why yet.
Well, there's that.
I'd read forward in the
she drops out of, or like, you know, takes a year of absence or whatever they're called, and robs and steals a boat, and, you know, has to go to court and trial and everything.
Pushes her to steal the boat.
Well, see, I'm not sure if he pushes her or if she really is, because it all happens kind of at the same time, where she's told like, you're not good enough. And then they're on a boat, and it's like everything happens kind of at once. But the people that they're with all kind of, it's all taken care of, and she gets stuck with, like, you know, hundreds of hours of community service and all of that stuff.
But all the people whose mommies
who are above them, yes.
Yeah, Rory does say that not all rich people are bad, and I can affirm to that. I have met nice rich people. Yeah. I have also met people who think that because they are rich, their money makes, oh, I'm sorry, my son raped your daughter. Well, here, have $100,000. That should cover it.
Yeah, that's enough, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's so he, like, so basically that family has declared war on the Gilmores, and they don't believe it when Lorelai tells them, and they're just like, no, they're a good family, and we need to be on good terms with them. And it's only later on with like, oh my God, no, you did completely crush her spirit on purpose, when they realize, like, no, we're not on the same side. And later on, he takes credit for her because she, you know, returns and is like, I'm going to keep doing this. I'm going to work. And she's doing really well. So of course, the dad has to be like, I gave her first internship, that rising star, who he said, you know, you can never, like, get out of here.
So all your good stuff, that's another thing cults do. All your good stuff is credited to me. All your bad stuff is credited to you.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, like, so that if Lorelai does something, Emily and Richard are going to say, well, that's because of her good genes and what we gave her. But anything bad she does is credited to her and only her, rather than, gee, you want to know why she lies to you, Emily? You want to know why she lies to you, Emily? It's because you treat everything as an attack all about you. That's why she lies to you, Emily.
Yeah, it's so true.
It is just okay. So, but Chilton
is kind of
that Rory goes to.
Yeah, it's the first school. Does it count as a prep school?
It is like a prep school.
Okay, yeah, prep school, because it's preparatory
to going to. Yes.
Yeah. Instead of just going to, you know, the little Stars Hollow school, which they're not saying is necessarily bad, but she wants to go to Harvard, so they're trying to get her, improve her chances with a really fancy, expensive school that apparently has a lot of things going on in there that have a lot of requirements that even Lorelai finds out.
If it's so tough to get in and so tough to get through, how the heck do Paris's little bimbo friends
Well, I think they probably just get C's and stuff, right?
But they're probably rich, and that's how
they're rich as well, but they're not going to Harvard. You know, they don't really care about that. They're fine with C's, basically.
Because they're getting what my grandfather used to refer to as an MRS degree.
Mrs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That is, why do you need to go to college? You're just going to get married. Well, send her off to Brandeis, and she'll be there, and maybe she'll meet some nice Yale man.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, they're there. They're just going through. I think it's not even necessarily. I think the money helps them to get in for sure. Mm-hmm. And then they probably just like skate by, right? Because what they really want is people to pay the dues.
Mm-hmm. Now, Paris, you wanted to talk about Paris, because Paris is one of the first people that Rory literally runs into at Chilton. She runs into her and destroys her project, and Paris is immediately her enemy. Mm-hmm. And Paris is driven. Mm-hmm. I mean, anything you want to say about type A personality, she is a young woman who she has a list of things that she needs to do, and you just want to cuddle her and go, honey, you're 16. Enjoy things a little bit.
No, she has to collect all of those extracurriculars so that she can get into Harvard, because you need to have a long list of extracurriculars and have built a lot of houses. Like, she manages to freak out Rory about all of that stuff too, where it's like, oh, haven't you been doing all of this stuff? Oh my God, good luck to you.
Well, the thing about Paris is, unlike a lot of the other people like Logan and Taylor and Jess, she's not doing things because she enjoys them. She's doing them to further herself on this road that has been given to her and that she must follow since she was like 2.
Yeah, she does. I mean, she's a very fun character, and I feel like very fleshed out as she continues. I love throughout the series. Like, you would possibly think like, oh yeah, they're going to be nemesis forever, but it's like they're nemesis, but they're friends, but they're best friends, but they also have their conflicts. So it's a very dynamic relationship. But
I particularly like the spring break episode, where they're going, okay, have we done spring break? Wait a minute. Have we got drunk? We threw up. It's like they have to do this stuff because this is the spring break experience. They're not enjoying it.
Yeah. I mean, they're enjoying the nice beds, I think, and the warmth.
They briefly kiss each other because of they're supposed to. And it's just, they're not enjoying any of it. Yeah. They'd rather sit somewhere and watch Joseph Campbell's Power of Myth, and I'd be right there with them. But it's like, okay, have we done it? And they're like crossing off a list of things they have to do on spring break.
But in a way, I feel like it's almost healthy, because it's like, it's like, okay, we'll give it a try. Maybe it'll be fun. And it's like,
maybe it'll be.
I guess it wasn't that fun. We know that now. Now they know that, they don't have to do it again. But yeah, there's a few times where Paris becomes quite manipulative. I find that when they show up in housing and she's paired up with Rory, and Rory's just like, how?
Oh yeah, because her life coach decided it was
beneficial for Paris, right? So she organized so that they room together, right?
So that they room together.
Like, that's definitely, just slightly controlling.
And that life coach is very weird too. It's
so funny. It's so her though, because she had the maid or nanny or whoever at home, and then she was like, oh no, we lost her. It's like, what? It's like, yeah, she was somewhere with her family now. It's like, oh, so she's just living her life then. You didn't like lose her. She didn't die. And it's like, no, but she doesn't exist anymore.
But there's one point where she's actually trying to do couples counseling with a boyfriend, but the life coach is right there saying, no, we have to do this. And just really bizarre. And then you find out that the life coach has been indicted for something and spent.
Of course.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but if I want a life coach, I'm going to pick somebody who hasn't screwed up their life so far that they've been indicted for something.
I mean, he just wanted some money, and then I guess they lose. She's not rich anymore, I guess, Paris, because her parents were indicted or something, and so she has no more money anymore.
So
and which I don't really remember. Like, there's definitely things that happen with that, but I just don't quite remember it. And her most culty moment was 100% when they are at Yale and the Yale Daily News, which to me, I'm like, is there actually a paper that gets out every day? The Daily News run by, like, to me, this sounds insane, but I also am not part of that.
Most, I'm sure.
I feel like it would be a weekly, but they're working there. And
is it Yale is it Yale or Harvard that spawned the Lampoon, the National Lampoon? I'm forgetting now whether
is it Harvard? I wonder
Harvard.
if it's Harvard, because I feel like SNL, everyone comes from Harvard, right? I feel like all
there's definitely a lot of cross-pollination. Well,
they have money, they need to go to the further.
Yeah, I'll put it down below on a comment, because I always do that.
Yeah. So they work at the Yale Daily News, and Paris has been given the role of editor, and the power goes to her head. She becomes incredibly controlling and needs to edit every single piece. And eventually she has built herself a little a sort of like cell out of newspaper where she's sitting and boiling soup while the people outside are, and she's, she gives them numbers. She's like, number 2, where is your piece? And
numbers.
Yes. Yeah. She is full on, like,
she's like, giving, she could. So you were saying before we started taping that she actually turns it into her own little cult.
And they don't want to, they try to, eventually she gets ousted. But yeah, the people working there are just like, oh my God, what is that?
I feel sorry for her. She is the one person that I want to take up and actually give a hug to, because I'm sure she was not hugged enough as a child.
Oh, no, not at all, probably.
Or at least not by her real parents, by her nana.
By nanny, nanny for sure.
Because she definitely has a healthy relationship with the nana, and you see her almost a different person talking with her nanny's kids, who are the only people who came to her graduation. Yeah.
Well, she wasn't the speaker, right? So that's probably what happened. They're like, well, we have to be, you're not even speaking. You didn't get into Harvard. So, like,
I have a feeling even if she wasn't valedictorian, she would have, who knows? But yeah, she is definitely, I feel sorry for her. I really do. And then there's the whole Puffs debacle.
Oh, yes. The Puffs are part of, is a secret society in Chilton that we find out about. Once, because the part of the rules of Chilton is that apparently the students and the parents must be involved in the school. They must put some blood and sweat and tears into this, or else what are you doing? They have to be part. So Rory is confronted because she's having lunch alone and she's listening to music, and they're like, you're being very antisocial.
That was so very culty to me, that you must fit into this mold. You must talk to these people. You can't just do your own thing. You can't just, and I understand though, if you're going to fill out college applications, you do need some extracurriculars. Yeah. And a healthy, full life would be to have a couple of friends, because you should learn how to make friends, how to make associations. But simply dragging a girl in the office and saying, you need to make friends now.
And she has, if not a full-on friendship at that point, she still has a mutually beneficial acquaintanceship with, Paris and the girls.
She has friends in town. She has she has her best friend in Lane in town. Yeah. And other people in her town.
Yeah, but that doesn't count. They're not part of the
Yeah, they're not rich. They're not part of the circle.
She just, by pure chance joins a table where, you might say these are the mean girls of Chilton, as in like actually the
Mean Girls
from the Mean Girls girls.
The Heathers.
Yeah, the Heathers, but she doesn't know. She's just like, hello. And because she's not scared of them, because she has no idea, they're like
amused by her.
Who is this bold girl who just sits with us and is like not, shaking in her boots?
I have the feeling that they're amused, but then they get her, and Paris, who had it on her list that she had to join them because her mother was a puff and her grandmother was a puff, so she has to be a puff. I'm sorry, but I don't think I'd like to do things just based on what my mother and my grandmother did. The whole thing that poor Paris has been put under, and the puffs have this little thing where you have to break into the headmaster's office and ring a bell.
And I will say again, if we go back to the fact that Paris says her family was part of this group, it is interesting that still it is actually Rory that gets warned by her mom. Like she tells her like, oh, they're going to kidnap you tonight. So make sure, you know, you're wearing the cute pajamas and all of that.
And not the face cream on. And poor Paris,
who's
nobody's told. And she's
even though her parent, you know, her mom was there, should know about it. But no, there's no warnings. She's probably not even in the house, but yeah. So Paris is just caught off guard and
she's got the little acne strips all over her face and such.
Yeah.
Poor Paris. Oh,
yeah. And they get caught by the principal and, you know, get reprimanded, which Rory's just like, you told me to.
Told me to. And I love the fact that Rory is able to stand up. And that's why some of it is surreal, because a 16-year-old girl is going to go along with the pressure rather than stand up unless she's a really extraordinary 16-year-old girl.
Yeah.
So that a lot of these forcings and what are you scared? Are you chicken? Blah, 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 blah. I really bleed sometimes for some of the teenagers who are then lured into stuff that they don't want to do.
Yeah.
Or relationships, worse, young women and young men alike who are lured into relationships with a Logan, with a Jess. And think, oh, I can change him. I can change her. She doesn't treat me very nice now, but I'm sure she will later.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, I mean, I know this sounds drastic, but I'm sure that some people have been killed because they chose this person based on, oh, he's a bad boy. Oh, she's a bad girl. And but I can change him.
Because you might end up in situations as well where it's like, oh, now these are bad people, and now we just said we're gonna, you know, run around this corner, and oh no, this is actually a whatever drug dealers hang out here. Like I don't even know. You know.
Shall we talk about hazing for a bit? Now they're hazing for the newspaper. Wally was a little disturbed by it because they all had to make little newspaper hats and wear them. And I was thinking, that's on the very low end of the spectrum as far as hazing goes.
I was kind of like, is this hazing? This just seems like a really strange ritual.
It is what hazing should stop at.
Yeah.
It's where hazing should stop. Those who are interested, Henry Cowiak, look him up. I think it was Princeton, young man who was forced to run blindfolded across the quad, tripped, fell, split open his skull, died from hazing. People who have died of alcohol poisoning because, whoa, you're too afraid to drink this beer, come on. Or
probably like exposure as well, right? And
you have to drink this insane amount of alcohol in order to be in the club.
Yeah.
Hazing kills. We have seen this.
I mean, any situation where someone feels like they have to do, you know, in group confirmation. I'm trying to think of another word that can sort of umbrella that type of behavior. But yeah, it's like that type of thing is just I feel like the paper hats are not that scary.
Yeah, the paper hats hazing should stop.
Yeah.
That is I don't want to say the words acceptable and hazing in the same junket, but you know, that's, you know, okay, so you look silly for a couple of hours. That is okay. But some of the things, you must jump off this tower. You must do this, drink this insane amount of alcohol. You've got to go out with me. Come on. Now, you know, you're getting riled up now, baby. That makes me hot.
It's also like, when Rory gets I don't even remember what they call it, but the drink of all the alcohol with her roommates,
God,
right?
yes.
That's like leftover, and she's like, fine, yeah, it's not hazing, but it's, you know, part of the like tradition. It's like, oh, we
You
have this
to drink
leftover.
this
Here's your
leftover
part.
alcohol. What if she has alcohol, an allergy to alcohol?
Yeah, but what I think was interesting is, I mean, she could have poured it out. They wouldn't have cared. They wouldn't have known, because Tana didn't drink. So that's all good. But the problem becomes when she meets the guy and he's like, oh, look at this party girl drinking like this super strong drink. And then he expects her to be like big drinker later on. And like, where's the party, Rory? And she's like, that was just the thing with my, like, I'm not just walking around with a fifth of vodka everywhere. Like it was one situation. He's like, oh, it's so boring.
Oh yeah.
Boring.
Yeah. I'm sorry, but yeah, that was a constant thorn in my side for my college career, because I can't take alcohol. I just can't. I immediately get sick. And some people, well, that's the point, isn't it?
No, it's not.
No, sorry.
It's never the point to be sick. Like, no, that's never enjoyable.
I'm sorry, but the most that I can have is the ceremonial sip of champagne. And at my own wedding, I had ginger ale in that glass.
It's pretty tasty, ginger ale. So.
Yeah. But no, alcohol in me, no. More than a half glass of wine.
It's more for everyone else.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
Sure. Not that I'm okay. So let's see, who else have we got here? Taylor. Oh God, Taylor is the selectman up until mid-season 4 or 5, I guess. Does he get reinstated?
Yes. Yeah.
I knew he would.
Because Jackson can't take it.
He is a tyrant. He is the selectman for Stars Hollow. He is a tyrant. Mm-hmm. Wally and I were sitting there going, this should not happen in any sane community, when all of a sudden the town has to vote on whether or not Lorelai and Luke can be in a relationship.
That was very...
If they break up, they're going, we're going to be pushed apart and we're going to have to take sides. And it's like, excuse me.
Which they do.
They
have their ribbons. It's pretty funny.
No,
they do the ribbons. Yeah.
They do ribbons. That is just
blue and pink ribbons that everyone. And it's like, pick up your ribbon at Dosey so that everyone knows what side you're on. And I think it's Gypsy who's the mechanic. Gypsy who's the mechanic has a pink one, so she's like, I'm on your side, Lorelai. And she's like, I don't understand what's going on. She's like, well, you know, Luke takes care of his own car, like he's no business for me. I'm sticking with you because you're always riding that brake. Like I was like, yeah, I'm on your side because you give me business. But they do sort of
having to pick sides, binary thinking, either or. You can't, if you're not with us, you're against us. Mm-hmm. Is that cultic thinking? Also, the whole idea of Taylor as he can do anything he wants and he can push things through.
Because he is the one in charge of the rules. Yeah.
And I've got the gavel, God damn it. And I'm going to make sure that you can't have your greenhouse, but I won't tell you why until you get in front of everybody and I can just push it through.
And even with Lorelai, he was just like being difficult so that she could use her in with Luke to get him to allow, like, it's just like this circle of things. But you know what? I've thought about this because I've been researching Disney stuff. He is a little bit, I mean, he's not a corporation, but it's a Disney type situation, because I don't know if you know this, but that Disney has their own autonomous sovereign government in Florida.
I did. Yeah. I was actually aware of that.
Yeah. So they're also doing the rules for their set themselves and sort of perpetuating that. And that's what he's doing. Like what his amazing line of, if you have any problems with me, you can take them up with me. Like you can take them up with me. Yeah. Myself.
Yeah.
What's the problem?
Yeah. That is just, he is the antithesis of democracy because he abuses his power. If he wants something done, he can get it done. But if somebody else wants something and he doesn't like you, or he just doesn't approve of what you've done,
it's a change that he hasn't, come up with. So it must be a bad change.
It's telling that in the results where Sookie's husband Jackson gets elected in as selectman, it's a couple 10,000 versus 10 votes. And they got 10,000 people in that town.
I find that hard to believe.
I do too. I really do.
You're not seeing a lot of them, if that's the case. There's a lot of suburbs somehow.
I noticed that they got more racially diverse as the seasons went on. Somebody must have pointed that out to them that, excuse me, you're just a little too white. I mean, there's always been Michel, who I love Michel.
French Canadian Michel, who also has his attitude, but is
he
like
Canadian, or is he French?
He's French Canadian. I don't know if he's supposed to be playing French Canadian. I thought he was Parisian. Well, he's as a human, he is French Canadian, but as a character.
The actor, I see him, so I imagine him educated at the Sorbonne and
the Sorbonne for ends.
I just see him, he is Parisian in my mind, because the whole tude. But getting back to Taylor is a tyrant. He is just, everything has to be his way or the highway. He manipulates, he harangues, and his town meetings are just,
I was going to say, this is such a notable one, is when he makes Rory the ice cream queen or whatever, right? But he never checks with her.
Yes, and so she doesn't have time. I've got too much things. And then he's like, I'm sorry, she was better than this. I'm sorry, kids, the ice cream lady does not want to play with you. And there's
she's being a bad player. She doesn't want to be part of the town.
She doesn't want to do this. She doesn't want to. And he's basically triangulating. That is, he is giving them the information from his side but not from hers. And I love how she steps on the microphone and goes, "He didn't ask me. I'm sorry."
Yeah, I will say, like, one of the things that makes him not as scary, not as tyrant-y, is the fact that people do make fun of him to his face and he doesn't quite retaliate. Like when he has the toupee or hair color or whatever that thing is, and everyone is like, what's going on? He doesn't go like, "You're fired, I'm gonna," he doesn't retaliate in any, way. And also, that.
Can you really think somebody's a total tyrant when all he wants to do is run a candy shop?
An old-fashioned
candy shop where the penny candies are $1 a piece.
Old-fashioned.
We have an old-fashioned candy shop here with buckets of penny candy that I used to get taken to as a kid. Yes, I'll put a picture of the Shelburne Country Store. If you ever get to Shelburne, Vermont, it's still there. If you want to buy mustard, it's scream markup.
Of course. Yeah, the fact that they always go to Dosey's Market, I'm like, how is this not like ruining your economy? And he was angry. He wanted to sell vegetables too, because when the long-haired hippie guy
who wanted to replace the troubadour.
Yes, he was a one-time troubadour and then set up a vegetable market, and Taylor was very upset about that.
Yeah, and he tried. And the thing was, it wasn't that he was going, "I object to it. What laws are there?" It was, "I object to it. Let me see what I can do to twist the law," instead of, "This is against the law," rather than, if he hadn't objected to it, he wouldn't care whether it was against the law. The law is there to be twisted to use it to Taylor's advantage. The long-haired hippie. Now, there's a thing, is that they've got this Town Troubadour, and both Wally and I hate the guy.
Yeah, you wrote that down. You said the Troubadour. I'm like, this is so interesting. I can't wait to hear your.
We don't like him. We don't like his music. Besides, apparently they're in the part of Connecticut where there's people going la 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 la, all the time in the air. Any emotional moment happens, all of a sudden there's la la la's in the air. So why do they need a town troubadour?
He's a real musician, I believe.
Well, the other thing is also, I just don't like the fact that he's got a microphone. If you're,
I don't think I've noticed
if you're in a town, he's got a little microphone on a harmonica jack. And I feel that if you're in a small town playing acoustic guitar, you do not need a microphone.
I wonder how you guys, there is a troubadour takeover coming in, I want to say season 7. So we'll see if when you get to see that, you still hate him or would rather have him there rather than the dozens of troubadours that take over the town.
Well, the whole thing is that when another guy shows up wanting to play music too,
he's like, no, I'm the one.
They have to have a vote in the town square as to whether or not one or the other and who they prefer. And that is
very strange.
Speaking as somebody who has busked, that has been a street musician. No, there's a rota actually in the town of Burlington. You pay a certain amount of money, you get the busking license, and then there's a rota, and you can only spend 2 hours, I believe, at each thing, and we just rotate around the decent spots. That's in reaction to, we used to have this gentleman who would play clarinet and badly and stay all day at one spot, and he only knew 3 songs. And
oh, that's exhausting. Yeah.
But the whole idea of having the buskers come in and who wants this guy and who wants that guy, it's sort of democracy, but it's also tyranny.
Yes. And you'll see it with the Twickham house as well, which I don't think you've gone to. Yeah,
no.
There's a house where a very old man lives, a massive house, and he dies, and Taylor's like, well, he left us all these things, so we're turning it into like a bit of it's supposed to be a bit of a museum for Stars Hollow. And the plan was just a weekend of like, let's look at all of this. But he's like, no, but we could turn this into like an attraction for there's nothing here.
Pick a small town in New England, and I will show you a teensy tiny little museum. That's very New England, is basically to take a house that somebody has collected a bunch of junk and turned it into a museum with a gift shop. That's just what we do. I mean, my God, what else can we do? The winters are cold. Now, let's see. Also, I wanted to touch briefly on Bruce, the midwife. I don't know if he comes back for more than one episode.
I don't believe so.
Oh, I'm so glad, because she made me more angry than Jess and Logan put together.
And this is a single episode appearance, I believe. 2? Well, no, it's just the one.
Bruce, the midwife. And she's the midwife while Lorelai's best friend Sookie is having her first child, and they've decided to have a home birth, and I'm all about it. Go for it. If you want a home birth, go for it. Do it. Midwives, great people. Know a couple, absolutely great people. But this woman, as somebody who has been in the New Age pagan community for longer than I care to admit, I have seen tons of these people. Basically, Lorelai walks in the room and she's talking to Sookie, her friend, who is about to give birth. And this boulder of a woman comes into the room, looks at Lorelai and says, "You're anti-midwife."
There's energy.
There's energy. There was anti-midwife energy, and it wasn't in the room when I left. So you are an anti-midwife. It's like, hello? How can you even get away with this is mystical manipulation and sacred science.
And they're putting up with it because, as Sookie says, like, she's like, oh no, this is
the social contract. Abusers misuse the social contract because the rest of us are afraid to be impolite. The rest of us have been told from mother's milk, don't rock the boat, don't make trouble. All of her stuff put onto you and saying that it's your problem because you're the one with the bad energy. You're the one with the negativity. And I have seen that time after time after time after time used by people in order to put you off balance, to excuse their own bad behavior and blame you for it.
Yeah.
When I was in my group, the abusive spouse that I was married off to would hit me, and then it was not him hitting me, it was my ego jumping into his body and hitting me.
Oh, that is a different one than I
That
feel
is a
like I've
different
heard
one.
before. Yeah.
You know,
It's a very bold claim to make.
But you know, just
What if you were like, no, I feel my ego has been here this entire time. It's not gone
no,
anywhere.
you're not supposed to feel your ego. You're
Oh, sorry. Oops.
Yeah,
but he can feel your ego.
He can feel my ego.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. And the fact that I had one was,
oh, that's bad. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. You can't have an ego. So, but I have seen that in many, and not just in pagan New Age. I've seen it versed in Christian and whatever else.
Oh yeah, it's something that can take
more
shape
negativity.
Multiple situations and types of people using it. Yeah.
And and the people who are saying you're the one who's negative. So when I saw this Bruce going, you're anti-midwife, and that's and she had everybody leaping to her, and I don't want any. If I was to reproduce, I wouldn't want somebody like that bringing my child into the world.
Mrs. Kim as well. I feel like
Mrs. Kim. Yes, let's talk Mrs. Kim.
She's a very obvious one, really. So, but we've taken our time.
Okay, Rory's best friend Lane.
Mm-hmm. Her mother, Mrs. Kim.
Mrs. Kim. She is she stereotypical? Would you think the stereotypical tiger mom?
Well, I feel like tiger mom is a Chinese term, really, isn't it?
Oh, okay. I don't know.
I'm not entirely sure. I feel, and I also don't think it's tiger mom, because tiger mom suggests like career goals, like school and stuff like that, whereas she is very Christian, I guess. Like I like how just like her religion. I don't know, like some sort of religion.
She is, well, the very there's a whole slew of folks in South Korea that have embraced Christianity and rather hard.
Yeah, and she's one of those. Probably moved to a small town because it's supposed to be more wholesome, right? But she still has to be like, unmarried women everywhere.
And so once again, her daughter is forced into lying and sneaking around and hiding things because it's easier, because buckling under would be living death, and standing up and saying, no, I won't do that is not an option.
Yeah.
Because
so she has things under the floorboards. She has her little.
However, once again, this is not a realistic portrayal, because once she finds out and Lane says, this is me, you can't push me around anymore, she eventually goes, no, if she was the real tyrant that we have been seeing, she would continue to be a tyrant. There would be no recourse. You would have to buckle under or else, and it would not change.
There is, I mean, I don't know enough about that, but I do like that there is a bit of a back and forth there where, so has she moved out yet in your?
Yes, she's moved out. She's living with her band.
Yeah. And her mom has come to visit and has been shocked.
And and also then the last one where she invites her to Lunar New Year.
Mm-hmm.
And that's interesting that she keeps to the Lunar New Year while still being a Christian. Any folks of Asian descent who are Christians, who are in a Asian Christian community, whether it be Korean, Japanese, Chinese, Vietnamese, let us know if that's something that's still kept. But so the last time was Mrs. Kim inviting her and the band to come and be, not play, but come and be at Lunar New Year. Yeah. So of course, the older member of the band that they have is, you see playing I forget what the guitar is called. It's a Korean guitar, and I'll look it up, but it's kind of fun.
Yeah, Sebastian Bach of what band was he in? Oh damn, I don't know. Yeah, famous hard rocker who just
he is really. I was wondering if he was really.
No, he's a real deal hard rocker.
I thought
he was in a metal band.
I also was interested that they got Norman Mailer to come and hang out in Stars.
They have some good, they have some good cameos that are like very specific, like
yes,
very niche. But yeah, no, that's good. And yeah, what I told you that you haven't gone to is when Lane gets married is when you find out that Mrs. Kim has been hiding her religion from her mother,
who's a Buddhist.
Who is still in Korea. And they were like, we didn't think she was going to come because she hasn't left the country in like 40 years. Or like, we just invite her, but like, it's whatever. But then shows up and they're like, oh my God. So they're carrying in these big Buddhas and like, oh, we got to like.
So what we've got is an ultra conservative Christian who was raised by an ultra conservative Buddhist. And she doesn't understand that her daughter has had to, she's creating this cycle of having to hide who you truly are, because who you truly are is not acceptable.
It doesn't fit in, yeah.
That's the essence of abuse to me, is having to hide who you are, because who you are is not acceptable and you need to change to be this mold here that I'm trying to fit you into.
I find that I'm not going to say that I like that there is such a fraught relationship between the two of them, but I do like that it shows a different approach to, like, you can't necessarily protest when you're in that position. So like when Lane dyes her hair and is just like, and is so happy and feels proud and rebellious, and then realizes, oh, I can't actually go through with this.
I can't go through. She dyes it black, brown, and it's like, and she dyes it purple. Though I will also say,
I mean, that was a bad way, but yeah.
But the bleach that they showed where she was still honey brown would have not resulted in that shade of purple. I know from experience, because believe me, in order to dye it to even get this much purple,
it needs to get very, very pale.
It needs to get really, really. So they must have done something at least. But yet the whole idea of Lane having to hide who she is, and in a real relationship like that, there is no recourse. And it's not something that you want to see on a TV. They don't show what those pushing down moments would be that have created the I don't dare speak up moments.
Yeah.
Where
to the point where once she actually crosses a line that she's like, I can't go back, she just like doesn't go home. She's just like, I gotta go live somewhere else now, because I can't do anything.
And the discussions that cause that are not ones that we see on screen, nor would you want to see them, because they'd just be too painful.
Yeah.
It would be hours and hours and hours of yelling and wearing down, and it would not be pretty or funny or entertaining.
And they sort of imply at certain points that Lorelai as a mom has been there for Lane as well, quite a bit. And she even asks, she asks later on, she asks Rory if Rory will be the Lorelai to her children, so that they have someone that will, be taking their side and sort of there for them the way that her mother was.
I've always felt that in order to be healthy, there had to be another mom and another dad. In addition,
there has to be.
I believe that children do need at least two parents, doesn't matter what genders.
Isn't it the cool aunt thing, right? Where it's
but
there's someone else.
Yeah, you need to have a selection of family friends. You don't need, I mean, I do believe that a child needs more than one parent, but in my humble opinion, I don't think it matters the gender or preference of what matters is how stable the people are as individuals. But we're getting very off the point, because there's no.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Are there any in Stars Hollow? I didn't see.
I know you wanted to say, if there's any lesbians or gays. So
I mean, Michel is kind of coded to that, but
Michel is coded that way, but then he mentions women at some point. So it's a bit like, okay, cowards, you cowards. And then there is some speculation. There has been speculation that Taylor is supposed to be gay because he's never, the town is his family.
Would you want to be sleeping with Taylor?
No.
Male or female?
But I wouldn't want to be sleeping with Kirk either. And somehow he found someone.
Okay, so. Fair enough. Yes, Kirk. Anything? I can't think of Kirk as being abusive. He is their person on the autistic spectrum.
Well, he does. So it does come in later on. It's funny that you mentioned the bank anecdote because this does come up later on when Luke wants to buy a house, and then it's like, oh, actually there's someone else who has offered to put down like $250,000 right down and wants it right away. He's like, who on earth has this kind of money here? And then it's like, oh, it's Kirk. It's like, he's like,
well, of course he's got all the money. He's got all the jobs.
That's what he says. He said, I've been working since my youth. I've been working like 20 jobs a year and I just live at home. Like, where do you think my money is?
My theory was that they couldn't afford to get too many background actors to be the person at the newsstand, the person at the beauty parlor, the person running.
So funny.
They just got one character to do all the jobs.
It works though, and he's actually in. I think it's the first episode or the second episode. He is in there as not Kirk. He is the cable guy, and he has a different name and everything, but he's only there briefly, and then he is Kirk. Yeah.
Oh. Yeah.
And the woman, when Jess goes to California to hang out with his dad and his dad's girlfriend, that girlfriend joins the show later, but not as that character.
That's the same actress as the girlfriend. I didn't recognize
her later.
They got her hair color different, I think.
Oh yeah, it's back to dark. It's one of the women from Twin Peaks, and then another woman from Twin Peaks is also in the show, Sherry.
Oh, you see, Wally didn't tell me that. Of course, a lot of the time I will say that we're actually just listening to the show and looking up at the screen while we're playing our stupid phone game.
I mean, it's a great show for like dialogue and like, it's just, it's good. And I find it so
snappy dialogue, the rapid back and forth and
if you set aside like some of the references that I think wouldn't necessarily fly these days, it's a very like it holds up really well for like a 20-year-old show.
It does really amazingly. That's why I'm not so concerned about spoilers. I mean, after the show's been around for 2 decades.
Yeah, and they created, so it's 7 seasons plus the mini series.
The mini, I haven't seen that. I'm looking forward to it.
I haven't finished it, and I won't. I pretend like it doesn't exist. It's not
really?
Part of it
What, is it like Fire Walk with Me for Twin Peaks?
I love Fire Walk with Me. Hello.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry.
I actually love Fire Walk with Me, but yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of things that happen with the show behind the scenes that you're like, how much because the original creators left at a certain point, like it's like a whole thing. So I often sit and go like, what plot lines? What caused? What would it have looked like if you stayed? Like, there's a lot of that kind of stuff.
That's a whole other series in itself as far as what went wrong with Twin Peaks. And
oh my god, well that too, oh my god,
they tried
that has some real interference.
They tried to save it with a cliffhanger and then didn't get the next season, and so the show ended on this really bizarre cliffhanger. And
they got to come back 25 years later. It's all good.
Yeah, right.
Just had to wait.
Yeah, because Kyle MacLachlan is immortal. We know this.
He's really fun to follow. He seems he's
notably aged in Portlandia.
Oh yeah, he's aged, but yeah.
Getting back, let's see. Michel and his mother, though, there was another problematic.
Yeah, they had a really nice shallow time. A very predetermined, almost scripted interaction of joy, but that's because they're not looking at like
they're not
all a facade that they're maintaining.
one wonders if he had been gay, she would not want to meet his partner. If he had been eating junk food, she would not want to know that. No. So it is, very what the Scientologists call clear roads, fair weather, I think it is, where it's one of the ways of handling relatives and friends who are not in Scientology. If you haven't disconnected from them yet, you're supposed to just talk about the weather and happy things. And you find that a lot in dysfunctional families where you can't talk about the real stuff. You end up talking about little happy things.
That makes sense. You're saying so clear roads and skies, that tells me that it's the traffic and weather, which does show up in a later episode where it's like, or maybe it has already happened, where they're like flustered, Emily and Richard are flustered, and like all they can do is ask about the traffic, and like, how is traffic?
You can't talk about, you can't, that's the mark of a dysfunctional relationship. You can't talk about real things.
Yeah.
You can't talk about what matters to you. You can only talk about the latest movie you saw, or how many Blue Jays are on your feeder, or the weather. Yeah. Things that you would feel comfortable talking to a total stranger about.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's kind of, it is kind of what you see between, you don't really get to see it, but between Emily and Lorelai, probably, because it's as Emily starts to find out all of the little things that she's like, you never told me you broke your leg. You never said you lived in a shack. Like, because presumably they were all just like very surface level. Just, we're not going into it.
We imagine that she left town and did not speak to her for a little bit, and
and then they just show up at the Christmas party or whatever.
And the thing is that she doesn't take it as, oh, my daughter was so, I did not give her so much any emotional support, so she felt she had to run away. Instead, it's you abandoned me. It's your fault. You hated me so much that you decided you had to do this. And it was always all about her. And that is a very cult leader sort of thing.
Yes.
That is always, you did this to me rather than I did anything to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The other thing I will say is that some of the stars hollow women versus Lorelai.
And it's not even like, it's so specific though. It's the stars hollow high moms, really.
Yes, it is.
In particular. But they are very cliquish, even though they're in, this quirky small town. They have those ugly wigs, which I think they're supposed to be just
the Karen haircut. Let's just own it.
Presumably, yeah, back in the day. But they're all wigs, so it's like clearly it was very important for them all to look like all that and that
matching. But the thing is, okay, so Lorelai gets asked by them to speak to their senior high school and talk about as a prominent business person. But the kids go on, well, you had Rory, didn't you? And you had her at 16. Now, how did that work out? And they're asking real questions about what happened. Are you okay? Did you have regrets? How were you able? And the mothers go, so you're going to be handing out condoms to our kids and you're going to tell them that's okay.
Which is it that you want to show? Do you want to show the teen mom who now has had her life ruined, so she's a great, deterrent? Or, oh, wait a minute. No, you picked the teen mom who turned her life into, like a business and
objectively the best mother in the show. Probably one of the best mothers. I can't think of a TV mom I would rather have than Lorelai Gilmore. Yeah. Though I will say that's with a caveat, because you noticed on the bottom of our list, I put Lorelai when she parentalizes or parentifies. I got that mixed up in our Harry Potter thing. It's either parentification or parentalization, and I can't remember right now.
They both sound as real or likely to me, so I can't say which one
but it is. She does sometimes. Lorelai ends up being the parent figure, the reality in Lorelai's fantasies. Lorelai is off making the socks talk to each other.
Yeah.
And Rory is the one who has to go, okay, we've got this bill to pay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is not a healthy thing. And I honestly, nothing against teen mothers, and nothing against survivors of familial abuse, but I don't know where this beautiful relationship has come from.
It's come from, I'm going to give you a secret. It came from a writer's room.
No.
Mm-hmm.
You mean it's a TV show?
That's why it's all been, it all works out.
I mean, yeah, well, that's why Jess is nice underneath and everything, is that all of these people are idealized. I mean, and I'm sure there is a Lorelai Gilmore out there.
Oh, for sure, probably, yeah.
Who had her kid at 16 and decided, I'm going to be the best I can, and really committed to it and didn't F up her kid.
Yeah. But
my God, sometimes it's just so unreal. And yet, I love Lorelai Gilmore. And I love Stars Hollow. Though, yes, there is something to be said about the fact that this town is overly involved in each other's lives to the point where it is a little culty and a little unhealthy.
Yeah, because they're all
in the middle of Stephen Hassan's influence continuum.
It's like when they wanted the recreation of her graduation, right? Because they can't go, so they're like, "Well, you were going to recreate it, so we could all."
Or the fact that Max. I love Max. Hi, editing room Spike here. I was going to mention how the whole town participated in Max's floral marriage proposal, stepped forward to do the wedding, and commiserated with Lorelai when she broke it off with him. Now back to the discussion. Now, I don't know if anybody else has seen 10th Kingdom. Want to talk about, I'll take 90s NBC's miniseries for 1,000. He played a werewolf in this lovely thing called 10th Kingdom. And that's where and as soon as we saw him on the screen, it's like, it's Wolfie, Huff Puff. So that every time I see him on Max on the screen, I go, oh, Huff Puff. Because he's this, once again, bad boy who's still good at heart.
See, that's Jason to me.
Will change her. Change him.
That's Jason to me, just because he was in all of those Whit Stillman movies from the 90s. So he's been in so many movies where I'm like, oh my God, it's this character. And it's like, oh, it's him again, Chris Eigerman. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, that trope, though, the trope of, he's a bad boy, but I can change him with my love, has got to die.
Yeah. Well, you might be happy that they've included the nice guy as well in the show, the nice guy prototype.
Dean is a nice
Marty.
Guy. Marty's a nice guy.
Oh, but I mean, like, Marty is like a nice guy TM, is what I'm saying. It's like you find out about it, like he sort of devolves and you're like, oops. Oh, it turns out he was very realistic, because he was so nice to her because he was interested, and then he's like, now we no longer speak. You'll see. I think it's done quite well in the sense that you're like, Rory's like, wait, what's happening?
Yeah, and I still don't understand the nice guys that these nice guys, they never get the gals.
Well, it's because they do like what Marty does, is that they're just lingering around, and she thinks they're actually friends, and he's like, I'm actually pining and waiting to make you say, hi, I'm interested in you. I feel he says, hi, you've already seen me naked. What do you say? Let's go for a drink. Because he was the naked guy.
The thing is, a lot of these hijinks, especially when Lorelai lies to Luke, like we were saying before taping, the father of
Don't worry, Luke lies as well. You'll get there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you'll get to it.
That Lorelai had this kid with a guy who then went off and did his own thing, and they never got. They were trying to, but they're like on and off and on and off.
He's the example of her thinking, I can't fix you. You need to go off and fix yourself.
Yeah, which is nice, which is
Yeah.
good and realistic. But the thing is, when his father dies, she goes to be with him, which I would do for any of my ex-boyfriends with, or at least the ones that I'm still talking to. You know, I have an ex-boyfriend who's married to a lovely gal. They live in Michigan. If all of a sudden something horrible happened and she wasn't there and he needed help, I'd probably go. I'd probably bring Wally with me. But I would
that's the difference.
do it with my partner first. I'd say, hey, X is in a state and he needs help. I'm going to go fix it. I wouldn't lie. And a lot of these hijinks are created, yes, to be hijinks because it's in a writer's room and it's a show. So the people can't go. So there's a lot of things that end up being a whole couple multi-episode arc of hijinks and lies that could have been solved with a 15-minute conversation.
Although humans are not really that communicative all the time. There's a lot of real life miscommunication as well.
But a lot of the time, I feel that we should be, that we should not expect our partner to read our mind. I've seen that too many times. I was disgusted. I think I've told you this story before. I was in graduate school and a bunch of gals were talking about their plans for Valentine's Day. And my plan with my boyfriend at the time was that we were going to go to the laundromat and get pizza, and there was a pizza store next to the laundromat, and we'd go and do our laundry and have takeout pizza at the laundromat, and that was our big romantic date. And because it was Valentine's Day, we were going to add, we were graduate students, you know.
But it's also like in general, they will hike up all the prices for that. Like,
and
go
so
for a fancy dinner another night.
Because it was Valentine's Day, there would probably be a box of chocolates involved. But at the same time, we both had planned it. Whereas this little queen comes up and says, well, I want a bouquet of 12 long stem roses. And if he doesn't get it for me, we're broken up. And I said, have you told him that you want this bouquet of flowers? No, but he should know. He loves me. He should know what I want. Loving someone does not imbue telepsychic powers.
No, especially, no, not in those. It's
no. You tell somebody what you want. That is why me and Wally have lasted so long, is we communicate. If I'm feeling bad, he knows it. If I'm feeling bad, everybody in the god darn neighborhood knows it. But we communicate. He says, hey, I didn't like this. Can you so that all sorts of things, they're fun as a TV show, all this hijinks, but really, let's communicate. Let's say, I didn't like this when you said that. Or please pick your socks up off of the floor. Please don't leave the peanut butter spoon. Now there's things that you can adjust with your spouse. Not stop being a bad boy, but stop putting peanut butter filled spoons.
Some small behavioral things. I mean, that is a sad realization that one gets when you have roommates. You're like, oh, I can't just leave.
I can't just do that. No, I can't just be a pig. I have to actually do stuff.
I feel that,
But I do feel that this show it's got some very culty things, but it's also got some very healthy things.
It's a mishmash.
It's a delight is what it is. And I wonder how much coffee was available on set or other stimulants. I know you said it was a family show in the WB, but I can't imagine that somebody wasn't going around with a couple of bennies or something.
And it's where Melissa McCarthy got her start too, kind of, I guess.
Oh God,
she really blew up from
Sookie and and Sookie and Jackson. Their arguments where I can't tell him this, I can't tell her that, and that is, once again, when you're hiding stuff, that's not so much culty as it is unhealthy.
They do have a bit of that. For sure. There'll be more of that coming up. But
the I want 4 kids in 4 years plan. What really got me though was how Jess just basically ticked off every single box on our predator list.
I feel like that is very important to emphasize. Yes, we do not. Justice.
Well, it's a whole trope. It's a whole trope that there have been out and out abusive tactics romanticized.
Yep.
Romanticized and raised to a level of, oh, he's just being romantic.
On the plus side,
jealousy.
One might say that Lorelai is sort of against that. She does make her displeasure knows, but then she also knows.
She never sits her down and says, I don't like him because he doesn't respect your refusal.
Yeah.
There's a whole list that she could have said.
She could, but I feel like it would backfire, especially since when she was saying to her mom, he's bad, and like she agrees, and then suddenly she's like, wait, am I on the wrong side? Like,
the thing is that if she had said, instead of I don't like him because he's a hooligan, instead said he doesn't do this and he does this, he's not respecting your refusal.
Yeah.
He deliberately goads others.
Yeah.
Things that Rory could see and go, oh yeah, and say, honey, I know that he's attractive to you and I will not stop you, but just know that these warning signs are like the rattle on a rattler.
Yeah.
They're like the red, yellow, and black stripes on a snake.
Yeah.
They're like the yellow and black stripes on a wasp. Nature has warning colors. And if somebody does not respect your refusal, wants to push you into danger, is rude, like Logan is rude to servers and servants. That's a big red flag. If somebody delights in making other people uncomfortable, delights in weakening others with put downs.
Yeah. Tristan and Jess, yeah.
These are all warning signs that should be heeded and not romanticized.
Yeah.
And that is the end of the sermon. Please be upstanding and turn your hymnals to page 451. And now let us sing. Oh,
where you lead
out on the road.
Follow. No, I'm like
lonely and so cold. All you have to
Carol King, yeah.
Call my name and I'll be there on the next train.
Yeah, it's great. That I have not tired of that theme song in all these years and watching it over and over and over.
I sing along with it every darn time now.
It's so good.
Where you lead,
it's a very good song.
I will follow anywhere.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's good stuff. It's a good song.
It is. It grows on you like a fungus. No. I think we have wrapped this up fairly well. If anybody wants to give us some suggestions as to what to cover next, we still have to get back to Star Trek at some point, and also Harry.
It's on our list.
It's on our list. We are not listless.
We're not listless, but we might be listless. Wait, we have a list, but yeah.
Yes, and I could do some Gilbert, and we've got a little list. We've got a little list, and none of them be missed, and none of them be missed. Boink. Wink. But any case, this is Spike Robinson and
this is Monia.
And thank you very much for listening along. Like, subscribe, throw us some bucks, do all the YouTube things because of algorithm, and have yourselves a great day. Thank you.
Hi, John here. Thanks for watching. We'd appreciate it very much if you would click like, as well as subscribe, and click the bell for notifications. Every dollar helps, and we welcome new patrons on Patreon, or you can make a one-off payment with any currency through PayPal. Thanks so much.
You mean it's a TV show?
That's why it all works out.